We'll start with you, Cindy.
Okay, Cindy Franklin, ABC Director.
Tim Stevenson.
Pete Peterson, Assembly.
Dick Cheney, Assembly.
Ernie Hall, Assembly.
Julia Tucker, Assembly Council.
Dennis Wheeler, Municipal Attorney.
Todd Sherwood, Assistant Municipal Attorney.
Ira Perman, David Hall.
Perfect. I want to kind of lay out a little bit of a ground rule. I like these work sessions to be very informal, and they are a work session format, so first names are perfectly acceptable. And we are extremely fortunate today. Cindy has had a tough time finally making it here. It seems like every time that she's been ready to go. And Erica, would you please join us at the table too? Our zoning is a very key part of what we're going to be dealing with here. So for the record, I'll have you introduce yourself real quick.
Erica McConnell, Correct Planning Review.
Perfect. But Cindy and I,
Amy joining us from Toronto.
oh, and Amy Dembowski is back in the room. Cindy and I flew back in after I think we both spent 3 days in Juneau. I know I was there for 3 days. I think you were there most of that time. But we've been very much looking forward to hearing from you. And I think actually from what my feel is right now, it's probably been fortunate that we've been delayed because I think you actually may have a little more to share with us than we might have last week even. So at this point, Cindy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and I do appreciate coming. I noticed your next meeting is the same week I'm going back to Juneau. So I am having a hard time making your meetings. I do have some additional things to share in light of the ABC board meeting that happened on February 12th. So, and Ernie was at and Ira at the AML presentation, so a bit of this is a kind of a repeat of that, but I think that what I want to start with whenever I talk to anyone in any of our municipalities are some good things that I think are a good place that we're starting with marijuana regulation as opposed to what we've seen in Colorado and Washington and to some extent even in Oregon. And there are particularly a couple of really good things for you as municipal officials because the first really good thing is that there is a lot of local control built into AS 1738. And when we were in Colorado, we had the privilege of sitting down at a table with the Colorado regulators and Oregon, and we were able to bring the municipality of Anchorage folks that were in Colorado early to the table as well. And those meetings were very valuable because they were very kind of a small group work session similar to what you have going on here. And we even heard from the Oregon folks that all of the rules in Oregon were going to be statewide rules, and none of their municipalities were going to have any choices regarding the implementation of marijuana regulation in their local communities. So we know that we have a lot of local option built into our alcohol regulation, and I think that the municipalities are fortunate that that same type of local control is built into this marijuana statute. And it really enables a layering effect of these regulations that I think is going to allow everyone to tailor particularly the commercial aspects of marijuana to their own community's needs. So I think that's really great. I think that what you should expect to see in terms of the draft regulations and the early regulations that are coming out of an ABC or Marijuana Control Board is a menu of local options, similar to the menu of local options that we have in alcohol. So it is likely not to be all or nothing. It is likely to be modeled on those local options that you find in Title 4 and 411, 491. So that's good news item number one. Good news item number two is that we are not starting from a place where we already have medical marijuana dispensaries. And what we saw in Colorado, what we have seen in Washington is a lot of loopholes that are built into their regulatory systems because of the rules they already had in place around medical marijuana. Even a lot of the very well publicized issues that they've had, for instance, with edibles, really arose because of the kind of particularized way that Colorado rolled out marijuana licensing in terms of the medical dispensaries and in terms of who was initially buying those products in stores. So when you think about edibles, first of all, you have to realize that most of what you hear about edibles being a problem is a pre-rules change in Colorado, okay? So Colorado changed their rules in the fall of 2014 after having some problems with edibles when they went recreational in January of 14. Well, they had had medical dispensaries open, with their doors open, licensed, since 2010. And those dispensaries were selling edible products to medical patients. And what medical patients meant for them were people that were used to using marijuana, that had high tolerances for marijuana, and that had a demand in the consumer product for something with very high THC content. So when they opened those, they said the only people who can open recreational stores are people who are already running marijuana dispensaries. So it was logical for those dispensaries to use the same products for this different consumer base. But the problems came when people who were much less experienced, who didn't understand the way that edibles worked, who didn't have those high tolerances built up, started using these products that were designed for this very different customer. And we just don't have that. We don't have that here at all. We aren't gonna have stores where you go left for the medical and right for the recreational. And at first, we were very intimidated by that. I had people call me and say, you guys are gonna be the first state to start completely from scratch, and how crazy is that? But in the end, we think that that's turned out to be a very good thing. And we really want everyone to resist the temptation to go down the medical road, or to create a different licensing scheme for people who are using this substance for medical reasons. There are right now, under AS 1737, which is our medical marijuana registration, 831 Alaskans who have medical marijuana cards.
Okay.
And what Colorado saw was at a relatively low number, about 2,500, so for a population much bigger than ours, that really swooped up to an incredible number almost overnight when they created dispensaries where only medical marijuana card holders could buy products. And so they showed us those numbers, and that's really sort of creating the temptation for people to go get a medical card so that they can buy marijuana. And since we already have this statute that says we're gonna find a way to create